Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. We look a little different today, don't we? we're oh geez, my phone's, everybody's like, you guys look crazy. I gotta turn this off. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are your hosts, Southborough Youth and Family Services. My name is Sarah Castle. I am the Director of Southborough Youth and Family Services, and with me this morning we have Megan Island, who's our Assistant Director. Good morning, Megan.
Morning.
We have Bambi. I'm just kidding. Shannon Knyman, who's our Program Coordinator. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we're so excited to have Mandy Roberge from Wicked Good Henna joining us this morning to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some arts and crafts with Mandy. So good morning, Mandy. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, good. Cheers, everyone. What's everybody? Oh, look at Megan. You are a cat.
I am, yeah.
Kitty coffee mug this morning. That's great.
Which kidding.
So typically on our show, we like to have discussions about important topics. And we also enjoy shenanigans now in a while to try to bring some lightheartedness to our show and have an opportunity to laugh with one another. And today we thought we'd shift gears a little bit in the spirit of Halloween, which is this weekend, and also in the spirit of self-care. A lot of our topics lately have been on the heavier side, and we thought that we feel it's important to take time out to enjoy ourselves, and we're all firm believers in arts and crafts being a really nice mechanism for taking a break and taking care of yourself. So Mandy, can you tell us a little bit about what craft we're going to do today?
Sure. So I wanted to pick a craft that would utilize things that most people would have lying around the house. So we're going to be decoupaging a jar. So decoupage is a term that relates to taking a glue-like substance. In this case, we're going to use Mod Podge and applying it to a surface. And in this case, we're going to use some kind of jar. So everybody's got a jar. This is like one of those Yoplait, like wee yogurt things. And if you have a label that you need to remove, you could make a mixture of vegetable oil and baking soda, like make a little goop and apply it to the label and let it sit for like 10 minutes. And then you can just basically scrub it off with like a sponge. So, and you know, you can use a mason jar. So this is sort of like a finished product if you were using colored tissue paper, and this would be like a finished product with using paint and white tissue paper. Today we're just going to use white tissue paper. Actually, I think Shannon has some colors, but whatever you have lying around the house. And it doesn't have to be tissue paper. You can use fabric, you can use old book pages, you can use any kind of paper that you have, as long as it's not like, the only paper that doesn't really work very well is like cardstock, because it's too thick, it's not very pliable. But really you can just use anything, magazines, whatever.
Awesome. I can't wait to get started. I also have colored tissue paper. I've got like a whole bunch of pastel colors over here, so I'll have to choose which one I want to use.
Yep.
But awesome.
Imagination is your only limit.
Awesome.
Great. So
All right.
why don't we get started, and then while we're working, we have some other questions for you about what you do. And
Sure.
So what's our first step?
So step one, and I'm just going to kind of point my camera down a little bit so you can see my hands. We have whatever materials that you're going to be decoupaging, you want to be getting them into whatever shape you want to use. So, you know, if you want to use long strips, you can use long strips. If you want to use triangles, you can use triangles. But now you would cut them. And I'm actually going to add some little fabric hearts to mine. So I'm going to cut my hearts out. And the easiest way to do this is to just fold it all up into one little thing and put them all at once. If
Oh,
you
I'm
have,
making a mess.
yeah, make a mess. It's good for you. And, you know, like another fun thing to do is to cut little phrases and words out of like a magazine or a book page. You can make little, yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't really like to tell people how to be creative because it's really right there under the surface. You just got to let it out and give yourself permission to just do what feels right. And the other thing, like what I always talk to kids about and people about when doing crafts is like, well, first of all, it doesn't help to be like a type A personality. So I'm not a type A, but the type A's need to kind of check that at the door because whatever you make, yeah,
Yeah.
get rid of any expectation that you have of yourself or your finished product and just enjoy the process because that's where the Zen comes in. Just cutting and gluing, and even if like honestly, even if your finished product looks like hot garbage, it doesn't really matter because you would have spent some time just chilling out, like just touching, being tactile and being open to the process. So I worked with kids in like an early childhood capacity, and I always would choose projects. You know, you wouldn't have caught me in I was a preschool teacher for years, and you wouldn't have caught me putting together a little bear with bear ears and eyes and the nose and the mouth. I never did stuff like that. It was always like, here's a bunch of goop and go ahead and play with it. The kids would paint with branches and, you know, pine cones and draping them along a sheet of paper, just things that allowed them to just touch and explore the materials. And that's what my arts and crafts workshops are really all about. It's nice when you have something at the end that you like, but that's really actually not the goal.
I have so many thoughts running. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Shannon.
No, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just
gonna
going to
ask
say, I have
Mandy
so
a
many thoughts running through my head as you're talking. One being, this reminds me so much of mindfulness, which I don't know, Mandy, how familiar you are with mindfulness or our viewers, but mindfulness is often about focusing your attention on some of your other sensations and almost like giving your mind a rest from all of the thoughts that are going on and trying to keep, you know, redirecting your thinking to your breath or to music you're listening to. And so with this arts and crafts, you're looking at different colors, you're touching different materials. It's a really, you know, a nice mindfulness activity. And if it gives you an excuse to do arts and crafts, then you should do it.
Well, I think the bottom line of mindfulness too is just being fully 100% in the moment. And that's where we are right now. We're here, we're with each other, we're cutting things out. We're not thinking about what needs to be done later or what we did earlier. We're like literally just right here. And that's definitely something I'm a little too good at. And what I mean by that is that I don't have any pictures of my children growing up because whatever they did, I was right there.
That's awesome.
Never
That's
really
great.
about needing a photo later. So, you know, there is a drawback to being in the moment, but yeah, so here we are. So we're just cutting things out. And if you like, and I always say to kids too, like, if you're cutting stuff out and you love cutting, I used to sit my kids down with a pile of paper and a pair of scissors and just let them cut if that's what they wanted to do. If you love cutting and you want to take this tissue paper and cut it into pieces the size of confetti, go to town. I'm never going to stop you. That is absolutely your choice. So if we lose Shannon, that's okay.
Because I'm clearly having a good time here. So you said that you do programs, Mandy. Is it? Yeah. And we met through Ryan at the Southborough Library. Yep. So you do programs with the library, but just Southborough or what?
Nope. I do programs at libraries from the Cape to the Berkshires. That is what I do, and actually into Maine and New Hampshire as well. Librarians are a very chatty bunch. So, you know, what started as just me doing one library right near my town. I'm based in Leominster, Mass. I used to teach kids yoga. Actually, I still teach kids yoga. In fact, I do kids yoga at the Southborough Library. What started as that, you know, the librarian was like, hey, what else do you want to do? Do you do other things? We like having you here. And so I just started doing lots of programs for that one library, but librarians are very chatty and they talk to each other. And so the next thing you know, and through that, Ryan had found out about me, and I've been so blessed because Southborough has been one of my like really steady locations. So I've been going to Southborough to do crafts a couple times a month for a couple of years now, which is really nice. I love having those libraries that I get to go back to. I get to know the kids. I know their names. And then of course, when COVID hit, you know, we went fully online. Ryan was one of the first library directors to reach out to me and just ask how I was doing and what I was going to do with my business. And at first I was like, Ryan, you know, my workshops are very creative. I just bring a bunch of materials. I let the kids go to town. There's no way to transform that into a kit. You know, you can't give every kid everything to work with. And then after about a month, I was like, Ryan, I do kits now. So we were able to work it out, but it's been one of the biggest challenges for me is taking this very like open, creative, like do whatever you want and transforming it into here's the 4 materials I'm supplying you with, do whatever you want with those. It's not quite the same. I don't prefer it, but I have found the silver linings in it too.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We've all had to make so many adjustments during this time. So.
That is for sure. Are you guys ready for the next step before we?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put this down. So the only warning that I give you here is to work small. Don't work big. So, oh, and I forgot to cut my own pieces. So let me just give them a quick chippity chop. All right. So working with the Mod Podge. This is, like I said earlier, this is Mod Podge. This is not, you cannot use glue in Mod Podge's place. Mod Podge is its own thing. So you can use some other kinds of craft adhesives, but I won't get into that. This is really the stuff, honestly. And if you're ever going to be working on a craft again, it's worth a couple dollars to buy a little bit of this for yourself. So we're just going to work small. We're going to work in like little areas. So here, and then you can even like use your paintbrush to pick it up because basically you're going to do a layer on the bottom and a layer on top.
Okay, so we're putting Mod Podge directly on our jar, and then we
directly on the jar, then
on top of it,
then the paper or fabric or whatever. I'm going to wait till, so for me, I'm going to get my whole jar covered in white before I start adding the purple, but before I add my hearts, but that's just me. Okay. And so you're doing a layer under, on goes the tissue paper, and then a layer over because it's going to dry nice and glossy. So we're just going to work our way around the jar doing that. You can kind of mix it up the direction that they're going. It doesn't matter. You can be very, if you're like kind of, if you like that, like really, if you like that kind of order, you know, you can have them all going. You can do stripes going all in one direction, or you can do a bunch of squares that line up, but I'm pretty loosey-goosey, so I just do it this way, just whatever. And again, just enjoy the feeling of just like, you know, applying the Mod Podge to the jar and just smoothing it over. Also, if you have any bumps or wrinkles, they're probably going to just like work themselves out when they dry. So don't worry about that. And if you overdo it and you're like stroking over the tissue paper, you kind of run the risk of ripping it. So just kind of work, you know, slowly and methodically, and just don't stress. There are people that get a little stressed out by crafting. I feel bad for them. That's no way to be.
I was just wondering if, so let's say, you know, I'm looking at my colors. I chose a light blue and a slightly darker blue to do here. If afterward you know, because we only have 30 minutes on the show, if I wanted to go back and add some hearts like you had, can you go back in after it's dry and do another layer?
Yep, just do the same process, a layer on the bottom and the layer on the top. Cool. Absolutely. Yeah, and if later you see a, you know, page in a magazine that has the word love and you like the way it looks and you want to cut it out, you can definitely add it later.
That's great.
Oh.
I like to make things for other people. That's kind of like my love language. So whenever I'm making something, I'm usually thinking about who I'm going to give it to.
That's great. My kids were begging.
This isn't just necessarily a question for you, Mandy, but maybe for any of you. But why do you guys think crafting is important?
I'll let you guys go first. I want to listen.
Sorry, I talk a lot. Shannon, go ahead.
You go ahead. I was just kind of thinking that was a thinking hedge. So you have to talk.
So I didn't really think of it this way, but Mandy, while you were talking about the sort of sensory experience of crafting, I do think that, I just noticed personally for the first time all morning, I feel relaxed because I'm focused on something that's really not, I like that, there's not a lot of parameters, which is partly what you were saying you like about crafting, and that you want to give kids free access to everything that you have. But so it is sort of a mindfulness exercise to be able to do arts and crafts, given that I'm sure there's crafts that are much more complicated and potentially be more stressful because but this is a really nice one. And I also think that for our friends or viewers that are more artsy, I think that arts and crafts can be a real source of self-confidence. And especially for young people is a nice opportunity to showcase some of their other talents or find talents that maybe they didn't even know they had, or give gifts. This is a really nice idea.
And an expression too. These kids don't, they have a lot of outlets for social experiences. Well, maybe not so much these days, but but not a lot of ways to express what they're feeling or what they're thinking. And when you give a kid a bunch of markers and paint and a canvas and whatever, it's just a place for them to put everything. They don't get a lot of, and certainly I hear this from kids all the time, being told, here's this, make whatever you want. It's that, maybe in the 80s when I was growing up, that was something we got to do, but it really isn't these days. They've got the MCAS and they've got the SATs coming up, and they've got all these things where there's a very rigid set of lessons that they have to learn, and they don't have a lot of spaces to just kind of do what they feel like doing. So that's the feedback I get from kids all the time. You mean because I have workshops where I just bring a bunch of literally stuff like doodads and wooden pieces and wires and whatever, and they can just make whatever they want. And they're like, I can make whatever, I can hot glue this to that. It's like, yeah, go nuts, I don't care. And they just don't there's not a lot of that in their lives right now. And in fact, a lot of parents don't know how to do that for whatever reason. We're all just under so much pressure all the time. This is a way to just stop and relax.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, our conversation last week on this show was about positive youth development, and we were talking about how we often as a culture look at young people. I know we're talking a lot about young people. This is for adults too, but in terms of young people, we're often giving them directives and imparting our knowledge and filling them with our wisdom, whereas the premise of positive youth development is that the best of development comes from the inside out. And when you give someone art supplies and just let them choose, what a nice example of positive youth development, or just in the spirit of positive youth development, just being able to create on your own and share your gifts.
It's not lost on kids either. Like when they're given the permission to create, they're thankful. Like they're grateful for the opportunity. And they will tell you. It's kind of awesome. And if you're talking about building trust and you're talking about building connection, it's one of those backdoor side effects that happens when you give a child permission or even a teenager. I know I'm talking a lot about little kids, but I work with all ages and adults. I mean, I do these workshops at libraries, and the parents, their faces are like pressed up against the door, like they want in. You know? They want in. And you know how parents, and I'm guilty of this too, I have teenagers, but you know how they always kind of take over their kids' art projects and stuff. If I have a parent
Guilty.
that's like, yeah, no, totally, me too. But if I have a parent that's kind of on the fringe of like just being obnoxiously involved in their child's project, I will hand them materials and be like, use them. And they do, they go, they sit, they make, you know, they want it to, we all want to be children again in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So just to bring it back to my craft, so you know, like, I mean, it looks a little messy right now, but it's going to dry kind of clearish, but I'm going to start adding in my little purple hearts. And so I might be a little goopier with my Mod Podge than I was with the tissue paper, but that's my next step. So you guys might have, that's going to be pretty.
Oh.
And so when we may run out of time to finish these. I should have chosen a smaller jar maybe, but
me too. Yeah.
But once this, how much time do you have to give this to dry typically?
It will, that's gonna vary a little bit, but probably like in a half an hour.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And we also have glitter here.
Yeah, so like
my favorite.
Yes, I have learned that not everybody loves glitter. It's a very, very polarizing craft substance, and so some people feel very strongly against glitter. But I'm a glitter person. So, and this is where it's gonna get a little messy, and this is where your type A-ness might fight with you a little bit. But I will demonstrate. You guys all have your little glitter. This is where it's gonna get messy. So this would be like a last step, because it's gonna get all up in your paintbrush, and that might not make you happy. So let me just finish my art real quick. I'm just going to get this guy on here. Okay, so this is where you're just going to literally, and this is like also a very tactile experience, just dipping your gluey paintbrush and just kind of tacking it on. And once these big glitter chunks get onto your jar, you're going to go around the jar with them, and then you'll go around one more time and just kind of goop some Mod Podge right on top of them so that they won't come off later. I'm just depositing these around here as they will. This is not a time to get precious, because these are not going to line up in like a pattern for you. But it's,
Megan, I have a question for you. Are you planning to use glitter?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Megan and I don't know. I think Megan maybe even more so, but when Mandy was talking about, I shouldn't label anyone. I'm gonna label myself.
Okay,
I'm a type A personality.
You can. I don't know if you heard when she said check your type A personalities at the door. I said, oh boy.
Yes.
But
yeah,
when
glitter.
it comes to like arts and crafts stuff, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually.
Largely.
Unless I have like a lot of time, though, I need to have as much time as I possibly want with arts and crafts stuff. Like, then I can be okay with that.
I'm not gonna lie, I have seen adults in my workshops get very anxious. They get a little anxious. I try to dispel it, but there are people for whom this is not all fun and games. We just try to introduce them to a new way of doing things. That might come from an experience as a child with an art teacher who was you know, a little rigid or had a certain kind of expectation about how things were going to go. So we try to just build these positive experiences. It's never too late.
Mandy, I think that comes from, for me anyway, from Martha Stewart.
Yes.
I feel like I was possessed by Martha Stewart when I was younger, and that, you know, like sometimes when I'm trying to bake or I'm trying to knit or I'm trying to do crafts, that it's incredibly stressful, but because I feel like there needs to be perfection to it.
Well, I was just, when you were saying Martha Stewart, the word that kept running through my mind was perfect, because she'd be like, there, that's And it's funny because, and this is not intentional, this is actually totally unintentional, but I always find myself saying to people, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm more interested in you having a nice experience and enjoying yourself. You will never catch me trying to make a perfect finished product, but then again, I'm almost always happy with what comes out because it's what I made that day.
Yeah.
And I don't think I gave you guys ribbon, but I will just sort of quickly while you guys are finishing yours. So this ribbon could be tied around here and tied in a bow like this, or it could be Mod Podged right on, and you could do that either way. Almost everybody has a piece of ribbon lying around somewhere in their house, whether you actually have ribbon because you like to craft, or whether it's from a gift that you opened last Christmas, or whatever it is. You can almost always find a piece of ribbon. And if you can't find a piece of ribbon, how about a piece of rope? If you can't find a piece of rope, how about a piece of embroidery floss? Hey, how about a piece of dental floss? I don't care.
I was just gonna say.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And
That's
so,
awesome.
like, you know, here I have this cute little, so like what I'm gonna do with this, well, my mom part, so I'm probably gonna give this to my mom, but I have this, like, so I don't know, this is left over from something, but one of these little like electric what do you call it, votive candle things. It's just a little electric thing, so now I have like a little glowing light up jar that I can put in the kitchen or give it to somebody for a gift and brighten up somebody's day. And that's all. What have we've been at this for 15 minutes, so that's
great. Yeah, I have a couple of spaces to fill, but I will likely, I went for, when I was looking for supplies, went for blue with some gold star sparkles. I was kind of thinking like nighttime.
Yep.
And I was picking out my colors, but it's such a nice time of year to be thinking about adding some luminescence to your home, because it gets dark so early now, and you know, depending on if you have holidays coming up that you celebrate, I just love adding, you know, twinkling lights inside my home, or warmth and ambiance where I can. So this is kind of a nice thing that I can add to my collection.
Yeah, and if you want to take your craft experience to the next, to level 11, you can even turn this jar into a candle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
If you're into that kind of stuff, craft stores sell, you know, soy candle making kits and all the supplies for, you know, who knows, the sky's the limit. It could be a pencil holder, it could be a votive, it could be, like I said, a soy candle of some kind. It could hold your change, it could hold your trinkets. Yeah.
Pencils. I actually, oddly enough, this is in my home office what I'm using for my pencil holder. Now
swap it out.
Use my new decoupaged jar. I'm so excited.
Yep.
Well, ladies, I can't believe it's already 10:28. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
So
look at the time pass when you're having fun.
It's true.
No kidding.
I want more time. So Mandy, as we said, has her own business called Wicked Good Henna. I don't know if you do this, but I almost want to like have you come on and do a craft with friends or something. You know how you do like they have like the paint studios that you can go to with your friends.
Yeah.
That,
well,
just coming
libraries.
on Zoom with a bunch of friends and being led through a craft would be really fun.
Yeah, that's what that's literally what I do. I have the best job in the world.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so Mandy is from Wicked Good Henna, Mandy Roberge, and we're so appreciative that you came on today to lead us through this craft. And I'm not kidding. It was very relaxing. I'm going to have a hard time. This is where my type A comes in. I'm going to have a hard time not finishing it because because there's just a few details that I want to finish on it, but I will look forward to doing that later on today. Mandy, where can people go? How do they contact you if they wanted to have you do a project with their kids or with friends or something like that?
Yeah, so I have my website is wickedgoodhenna.com. And I have a couple pages on my website devoted to library programs, and then I have a party page, and all of the library programs, all of the crafts, all of the programs can be translated into a birthday party. I think we're coming into a lockdown situation in the next couple months, and I don't know if your kid wants a birthday parade, but maybe they'd rather have a Zoom craft party.
Yeah.
That's kind of
I
what
found this to be really nice.
Yeah.
So
that's
fun.
And also, I will mention that on my Facebook page, every Friday from now until Christmas, I'm having a giveaway of one of my crafts that I make. Last week, I gave away a ceramic plate. Next week, I'm giving away, I can't remember what I had, but I also am going to be giving away a henna kit. I'm going to be giving away my Ruth Bader Ginsburg patented silkscreen t-shirt. So I have all fun giveaways coming up. So catch me on Fridays on my Wicked Good Henna Facebook page.
Awesome.
I expect all of you to.
We will check it out. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Everybody show, I know we're not done, but show your products here that you came up with. Awesome.
Oh, you can't see.
Shannon, yours is so colorful.
I have really light purple.
It's
really
pretty.
Light purple. It's beautiful.
I love it. Nice job, ladies. So, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Next week is, what is the date? We're into November already, right? Is it
November 2nd?
No, it's the 3rd, right? Tuesday the 3rd.
It is, yeah.
Election day. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, all right.
So we have a 2-part series that we had previously scheduled that unfortunately had to be rescheduled, but it has now been rescheduled. It's a 2-part series on youth and substance abuse issues. It's again going back to some heavier topics, but something that's really important to be talking about right now, because a lot of us, especially our youth, are struggling to access their usual go-to coping strategies, which often include socialization and support from other people. So we'll be talking week 1 with a young man named Cole, who's going to tell us about his recovery journey. And then week 2, we have local physician Safdar Medina. Safdar is a Southborough resident and a physician at UMass, and he's going to be talking to us about the physiology of addiction. So we hope that you'll join us next week and the week after for that very important information. And thank you so much for joining us today. If you made today's craft, please send some comments with pictures of your final product so you can showcase the beautiful work you did. All right. Thanks so much, Mandy, and happy Halloween, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.